The nightmare began in the early 1980s. Across the Midwest, small banks, jewelry stores, and armored trucks were hit with a terrifying precision. The man behind it all was known only as Victor Kane, a name whispered by both criminals and cops. Victor didn't just rob. He terrorized. He left behind broken families, ruined businesses, and shattered communities. One guard described him as calm, cold, and unstoppable, like he wasn't even afraid of dying. By the late 80s, Kane's name struck fear nationwide. He had killed when cornered, vanished when surrounded, and taunted authorities with letters that mocked their failures. For his victims, Kane wasn't just a criminal. He was a monster who seemed to live above the law. Victor Kane wasn't born a legend. He grew up in the rough neighborhoods of Detroit, bouncing between foster homes, juvenile detention, and street gangs. By 19, he had already served time for armed robbery. By 25, he was leading one of the most organized robbery rings in the country. Unlike most criminals, Kane studied law enforcement. He read FBI manuals, memorized police codes, and knew response times better than the officers themselves. He built his reputation by doing the impossible, robbing banks in broad daylight, slipping through ambushes, and escaping with millions. The media called him America's untouchable. Kane fed on the myth. The more they feared him, the stronger he became. For over a decade, Kane ruled the underworld. He orchestrated heists that seemed pulled from Hollywood scripts. In 1987, he robbed 3 banks in 3 different states on the same day. In 1991, he disappeared for 6 months, only to return with an even deadlier crew. Witnesses claimed he had eyes everywhere. Some swore he had corrupt cops on his payroll. The FBI made Kane their top priority. His face was plastered on most wanted posters. His name echoed on nightly news. But every raid ended the same way. Kane was gone, leaving behind chaos and humiliation for law enforcement. He seemed invincible. Cities lived in fear. Victims never healed. Kane wasn't just America's toughest criminal. He was a myth made flesh. By the mid-1990s, Kane had become the FBI's obsession. Task forces chased leads across the country. Undercover agents infiltrated his crew. Wiretaps ran for years. But Kane always stayed one step ahead. He wore disguises, changed cars weekly, and vanished into cities where nobody knew his face. Until one mistake. One tiny crack in his armor. On April 12, 1996, in a quiet Arizona suburb, police responded to a 911 call from a grocery store clerk. The call wasn't about a robbery. It wasn't about gunfire. It was about a man trying to return a broken blender without a receipt. When officers arrived, they recognized the customer instantly. It was Victor Kane, America's most feared criminal. There was no gun battle, no escape plan, no chaos. Kane was unarmed, carrying a shopping bag. After years of outsmarting the FBI, the man who had ruled headlines for a decade was arrested standing in line at a grocery store customer service desk. When handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Kane smirked and muttered, "Guess it had to end sometime." The capture stunned the nation. After years of terror, bloodshed, and myth-making, the fall of America's toughest criminal came not with gunfire, but with a receipt dispute. For his victims, the arrest was bittersweet. Justice had come, but far too late for the lives already destroyed. For law enforcement, it was a humbling reminder. Even legends fall, sometimes in the simplest, strangest ways. Victor Kane spent the rest of his life behind bars. His name faded from the news, his myth collapsed. And yet, the story remains timeless. How the hardest man in America, the one who couldn't be caught, fell the easiest. Because in the end, the truth about monsters like Victor Kane is this. They may seem unstoppable, untouchable, invincible, but they're only human. And maybe that's the most haunting twist of all. The man who built a legend as America's toughest criminal wasn't taken down by bullets or brilliance, but by something as ordinary as a broken blender.